Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 1 and we will be presenting on the annual report analysis between Sime Darby Plantation Berhad and Petronas Chemical Group Berhad.
Business and Economic Literature Review. Industrial industry, the products that are brought for future processing, used by company for business consumption. Few types of industrial products which are capital goods, raw material, component part, major equipment, accessory equipment, operating supplies and service. Chemical is one of the product under this industry with GDP in Malaysia between 8 until 15%. While for plantation industry, agriculture undertaking that regularly employ higher workers are mainly concerned with the cultivation. Challenges of plantation are diversification, financing faced by the companies and others. One of plantation production is oil palm production. Agriculture sector GDP in Malaysia is range of 5 until 7% per year. Background of companies. Petronas Chemical Group Berhad operate as an investment holding companies. Founded on March 25, 1998. Sandarbi Plantation, established in 1910. RSPO members since 2004. Both companies are listed in Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad.
My name is Nur Athira Izzati Muhammad and we will be explaining the first comparative analysis, that is MFRS2, share-based payment. Both companies, Petronas Chemical Group and Sime Darby Plantation, do not apply MFRS2 share-based payment. Next, we will move to MFRS 119, that is employee benefits. The first one is short-term employee benefits. For Sime Darby Plantation, their wages and salaries, for example, are accrued in the financial period in which the services are rendered by employees. And for Petronas Chemical Group, their short-term benefits are recognized as an expense in financial year in which associated services are rendered by employees. For post-employment benefit, both companies has various plans based on local and foreign countries, and they recognize as expense in SOPL. But for Sime Darby, they have additional, that is defined benefit pension plans, and they're using projected unit credit method, and the actual year gain or loss are recognized on other comprehensive income. Then they have other long employee benefits, that is deferred compensation payable 12 months or more after service, are computed based on the policy. Lastly, they have termination benefits, that is recognized when they terminate employment of current employee or proposal to encourage voluntary redundancy, and both of these are recognized as expenses in SOPL.
Hi, I'm Siti Noshafika and I will present about MFRS 9 financial instruments. Okay, basically MFRS 9 financial instruments sets out the requirement for recognizing and measuring financial assets, financial liabilities, and some contracts to buy or sell non-financial items. As per shown, Sime Darby Plantation Berhad measures its financial asset at amortized cost, fair value through profit or loss, and fair value through other comprehensive income. While for Petronas Chemical Group Berhad, it measured its financial liabilities at amortized cost and fair value through profit or loss. For financial liabilities, both companies measured the instrument at fair value through profit or loss and amortized cost. Next is financial instrument presentation based on MFRS 132, where the issuer of a financial instrument shall classify the instrument on initial recognition of financial liability, financial asset, or an equity instrument in accordance with the substance of contractual agreement and the respective definition. This is how both company presents its financial instrument in the financial statement. On the left is Sime Darby Plantation Berhad, while on the right is Petronas Chemical Group Berhad. Okay, for Petronas, it does not directly mention MFRS 132, but it identifies the instrument according in order to present them in the annual report.
Next, we move to MFRS 7, that is financial instrument disclosure. For foreign currency exchange risk for both companies, it results from foreign currency transaction. They apply natural hedge by selling and purchasing. For SMW, they hedge in same currency, and for Petronas Chemical, natural hedge arise from revenue and expenses being dominated in US dollar. For interest rate risk, they are changes in interest rate that affect SMW's profit or loss and Petronas cash flow. Petronas control by enter into hedging transaction. Next is credit risk. For SMW, it arises when there is credit sales, derivatives with positive fair value and deposit with banks. They controls by dealing with appropriate credit history partners and transact with good credit rating bank. For Petronas, credit risk is due to losses in non-performance by counterparties event. They minimize by ensuring all potential third-party counterparties are subject to credit assessment and approval before transact. Liquidity and cash flow risk of SMW is difficulty in meeting financial obligation due to shortage of funds. They maintain sufficient cash and marketable securities and the availability of funding through an adequate amount of committed credit facilities. For Petronas, it is when they are not able to meet its financial obligation when they fall due. So, they monitors and maintains a level of cash and cash equivalents deemed adequate by the management. For price risk, SMW exposed to commodity price risk due to fluctuation in crude palm oil, so they enters into commodities option and future contracts. For Petronas, they exposed to price risk due to fluctuation and volatility of feedstock prices on purchase and product prices on trade. So they proactively identifying, measuring, monitoring, mitigating and reporting price risk within the context of risk management.
MRFS 15 Revenue from Contract with Customer. For Samdarbi Plantation Berhad, it recognized by reference to each distant performance obligation promised in the contract with the customer when or as the group and the company transfer control of the good or service promised in a contract and the customer obtains control of the goods and service, while for the measurement, measure at its transaction price, being the amount of consideration to which the group and the company expect to be entitled in exchange for transferring promised good or service to a customer net or net of any government tax applicable at the prevailing rates. For Petronas Chemical Group Berhad, recognized revenue from sales of petrochemical product when or as it transfer control over a product or service to customer. Control of a product is transferred when it is delivered at an agreed delivery point, upon which revenue is recognized at point in time. Measurement. Revenue is measured based on the consideration specified in a contract with a customer and exclude amount collected on behalf of the third parties.
Okay, now we're going to look into FAR660. Both Samdarbi Plantation and Petronas Chemical Berhad has the same definition for FAR660, which is lease as a contract or part of a contract that conveys the right to control the use of an identified asset for a period of time in exchange for consideration. So for the recognition, it was divided into two, which is for the lessee and for the lessor. And lessee share the same recognition where FAR660 requires a lessee to recognize a right of use of the underlying asset and lease liability reflecting future lease payments for most leases. So now we're going to look into the voluntary disclosure of both of the company. So the first one, CSR, SMW has supported corporate social responsibility programs by raising fund amounting to more than 127 million to date. While for the Petronas, it has a Yayasan Petronas. It has devised a CSR strategic framework focusing on education, community well-being and development, and also environment. for the environmental issues, SMW has launched Open Palm Traceability Dashboard to enhance transparency on their supply chain and release cross-check to map their supply chain to mid-level, while Petronas has devised FAR framework, which is the innovation, infrastructure, education, and also cleanup. For the changing climates, SMW has made efforts to minimize their effects on the climate, protection on degraded land by restoring the habitat and reduction of pollution, while Petronas has outlined an energy efficiency roadmap that defines energy and energy efficiency. Objectives of this are for GHG reduction. And for the last one is the risk reporting. It has disclosed on the has disclosed on the technology disruption, key principles, joint venture partners, and cash flow funding. While Petronas has a report on corporate risk profile, emerging risk appetite, and high impact business matters. So for the conclusion, both companies apply the same recognition and measurement as what is imposed and must be. Both companies have shown efforts to contribute and give back to society, and most importantly, both companies has devised a proper and structured plan in order to preserve the environment.
Thank you for watching and have a nice day.